I hate war. Giving oneself the license to mass murder? That's what Putin is doing in Ukraine right now. I've read hundreds of history books and studied maps of the past and present. And I particularly study World War II, even battle maps and tactics of Hitler's army. I've personally interviewed many of World War II veterans who became my close friends. And what I'm seeing in today's news is a repeat of the history that I've read. You're watching the WorldView with Arthur, and I'm Arthur Brooke. At the beginning, the whole world was in denial that Hitler would be so bold and brazen as to keep going farther. He would say that he wasn't going to go farther. And other countries who wanted to believe him would just take his word for it and not respond with a force to push him back to where he came from. Then, he would wait a little while, preparing for his next invasion, and boom! Surprise after surprise, making the same moves over and over again until it was too late, and all of the European continent lay devastated and defeated. There were powers who could have acted in time and prevented their own defeat and destruction. So why were they in such denial? Why did it come as a surprise when it was such a repeating pattern? It's because everyone was just interested in looking out for themselves. As long as Hitler was attacking someone else, it wasn't worth risking their own neck, their own army, their own interest to push him back. We look at World War II and think, how could they? Didn't they understand? Didn't they realize? Yet we are doing the exact same thing today. Why are we standing by and watching it? Haven't we learned anything from World War II? Do you even realize how close we came to losing the war against Hitler? The veterans of World War II that I spoke to do. Vladimir Putin sees history's greatest villains as great role models whose strategies can be learned from and improved on. To him, as it was to Hitler, conquest and expansion of his power is the greatest cause. And it's an addiction that he has to keep feeding, and what he has is never enough. The same mental condition that drove all of history's greatest tyrants. Napoleon, Attila the Hun, Stalin, Hitler. And he has now been consolidating his power for over 20 years, much longer than Hitler ever had, and perfecting Hitler's pattern of conquest in country after country after country. Putin, like all of the mad conquerors of history, loves to romanticize what he wants, thinking it's his role and destiny to fix a broken world. And, like Hitler, he loves to rationalize his advances. Last night, he said that, quote, "Any bloodshed that this operation causes will be the fault of the Ukrainian government." End of quote. This is the rationale of all of history's mass killers. And then he said, quote, "Whoever tries to interfere with us or to create threats for our country should know that Russia's response will be immediate and will lead you to such consequences that you have not experienced in your history." End of quote. Does that sound like intimidation to you? Or does that sound like a challenge or a dare? Either way you interpret that, it's an eerie echo of Hitler's threats. It worked in 1939, and it's working now today. Because these threats are like venom. They paralyze the nerves and actions of countries that became Hitler's next victims. And it's working today because we lack the resolve to stand up to intimidation, so long as it's someone else who is being attacked. So, isn't it just wishful thinking to pretend that he will finally stop after this one? The same wishful thinking that led to the destruction of Europe. So I ask you, why can't we learn from history? We know what's going to happen next. One madman's ambitions turned every person's world upside down. No one escaped untouched. And if you think you're out of reach of today's Hitler, then you are not paying attention. Today's world is more interconnected than ever. How can we just stand by and watch the same chess game develop today as we saw in World War II? Every advance he makes weakens our position and gives him another advantage. A stitch in time saves 9. Every effort and sacrifice we make now will save untold sorrow and hardship later. Thank you for watching. I might be just a little person. I'm not even old enough to fight. But I have a voice, and I plan to keep using it.